Let's do another example using parallel arrays. So remember, if we look back at our lecture, we remember that parallel arrays are a special use of two or three or more arrays that allow us to create more complex data structures. So in this case, this is an example of person. We have two parallel arrays, name and address. Call that one set of two parallel arrays because we can have multiple sets of different arrays, to represent different contexts. But in this case, we're representing a person with a name and an address. So any element so element number two of names is going to be associated with element number two of addresses. So we just know that these two things together represent the person. Okay. So we're going to do that experiment, but we're going to use cars and mileage. So we're going to ask the user how many cars they have. We're going to write a for loop to prompt them to enter the make and mileage of the cars and store them in a set of two parallel arrays. So one set of two parallel arrays. So we're going to have an array of the make, an array of the mileage. And so we're going to assume that the matching elements in each of the arrays go with each other. We're going to use a method called getPositiveInt with proper input validation to make sure the user enters a positive value for the mileage. After the cars are entered, we're going to prompt the user what kind of car they want to summarize. We'll print out a list of the cars, and then we'll say what kind of car do you want to summarize, and they'll enter Ford, Mazda, whatever. And then we'll use a method to search through the parallel arrays and count the number of cars that match, and calculate the total and the average mileage for all those cars. Okay, and the purpose here is to learn parallel arrays, and then also to experiment with processing an array and going through it and looking for matching values. Okay, all right, and we'll put that last bit in a loop. Ask the user if they want to continue, and do so until they are done. Okay, all right. So we've got a couple of elements here. So let's start. We'll start by getting our program created. And then we'll start by just prompting for the number of cars, and we'll just kind of do this one little piece at a time. Okay, let's jump in. So we go to Visual Studio. I've already got a folder here. Let's go ahead and we'll create a new file. We'll call it CarLot.java. Let's put our class in, public class CarLot. And then we'll need the main. Okay, so we're going to need a couple of things. We're going to want to prompt the user for some stuff for some integers, for some positive integers, and we're going to need a scanner to do that and all that. So let's go ahead and do the scanner. System.in. We've written that code and that line of code in every program we've done, so you should be good at it by now. Okay, we'll do the import for the scanner. Let's go ahead and close the scanner while we're thinking about it. Okay, next we need the getPositiveInt. Okay, so we've seen examples of integers and range, etc. So we'll say getPositiveInt. It'll take two parameters, the scanner and the prompt as a string. It's a while true loop because this is an input validation loop. So we will stay in the loop until the user complies with the instructions. And then we're going to issue the prompt, system.out.println. Prompts. I made a bunch of mistakes there. Period, and system starts with a capital S. So just made a spelling error. System.out.println prompt, and then we'll get the user. We'll say string value, string input equals scanner.nextLine. Then we will attempt the parse. So we're going to do try. This is input validation. Integer value equals integer.parseInt. Got ahead of myself on the typing there. ParseInt, and that int is going to be input. So if that passes, then we want to test to see if it's positive. If value is greater than 0, then return value. If value is not greater than 0, print out a prompt. You must enter a positive integer. Okay. And then that's our return there. So now we have the input, the part of the input validation. We've done the try, we haven't done the catch block. But we've parsed the value into an integer. If it doesn't parse, we'll write that in a minute. If it parses correctly, we'll test to make sure that it's greater than 0. If it is, then we return it. Otherwise, we ask them to do it again. Okay, so now we need the catch. So we have catch, and we're going to catch a number format exception. And if they enter something, this means they didn't enter a valid integer. That is not a valid integer. Okay. All right. That should look good. Oh, we forgot it. We did our signature wrong again. I've been doing this a lot lately. It's public static int. All right. So when we define that, so keep making that mistake when I create these methods. Okay, so now we have the get positive int. This looks very much like our get in range or get double in range or whatever. It has the proper input validations in it. Okay, if you've written that method in some other program, you don't have to write it again. You could just cut and paste it. You don't have to keep writing this every time, but it's good muscle memory. The more code that comes out of your fingers, the better at writing code you're going to be. So code through fingers on keyboard. That's how you get good at this. So, all right, so now we have the scanner. We've got the get positive int. Now we can ask them, how many cars do you have? Int number of cars equals get positive int scanner. And then this will be a new line. How many cars do you have? Okay. All right. Now we know how many cars we have. Let's define our arrays. So first we need an array of string for the make. Makes equals new string array of number Okay. Then we need an integer array. We're just going to do mileage in integers just to make it easy. New integer array of number. Okay. So now we have two arrays. We are stating in our program design that this is one set of two parallel arrays. We don't actually force that with Java. We're just going to manage that. So there is nothing in Java that where we can declare these as being parallel, but we're just going to know that they are in our program. So parallel arrays, of course, means that the elements in each are related to each other, and any change I make to any element, I need to make to the corresponding element in the opposite array. So let's do a little for loop here to capture the inputs. So we're going to say for integer I equals 0. We'll start at 0. I will do the for loop as long as I is less than number of cars, and we'll do it one at a time. Now we get two prompts here. The first prompt is, we don't have a prompt for string, so we have to do that one manually. What is the make of the car? Let's see, let's fix that. Let's do a new line in there. What's the make of the car? And then we don't have to do an input validation of this. We'll just read it in. So fix that spelling mistake. And we'll just say makes at I equals scanner.next line. So whatever they type in, we're just going to take it. Now we want the mileage. So we'll use our get positive int method for that. So this is going to be mileage at I equals get positive int, the scanner, and then this prompt is going to be how many miles on this car. Okay, let's run that and see if it works. How many cars do you have? 3. Ford, 10,000 Mazda. Let's test our get positive int. If we put in a negative, it doesn't take it. If we put in something that's not numeric, it doesn't take it. Okay. 23,456. And we've got another Ford with 12,300. Okay. All right. So that is working. We're not done, but what we've written is working. So we have a loop that we have a prompt that says how many cars do you have. We then have a loop that collects the make and mileage of each of those cars, and we've got to get positive int. that helps us do input validation. And once this is done, we've got one set of two parallel arrays with the make and mileage of a bunch of cars. Okay, so now we want to do a keep going loop because we're gonna ask the user to how they want to summarize. So Boolean keep going equals true. We're gonna do while keep going. You know what? Let's do this differently. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to summarize. I'm going to put this in a separate method. So we've collected the information, but now the code to actually prompt the user for an entry and to display some data, that's going to be a lot of code here. So it's going to start getting our main cluttered. So I'm going to put it in another method. And I'm just going to say, search. Let's see. We'll call it summarize CarLot. Okay. That's going to be our method, summarize CarLot, and we're going to pass the makes and the mileages. Okay. I've named mileage here as a singular. I'm going to go back and change it to plural because mileages um, should really be it's more than one mileage, so it should be mileages. So we're going to put all that logic in the summarize CarLot method just to get it out of the main because there's going to be a lot of code in there, and if the main's already getting a little long. I'm a little worried that I might start making mistakes, that I might mess up my blocks, get my parentheses out of order, something like that. So I'm just going to split it out into a separate method. Now it doesn't have any return values because it's just going to do some displays. So it's not returning anything here. Okay, so let's go ahead and create that method, public static void, because there's no return. Summarize CarLot, it takes two parameters, a string array called makes, and an int array called mileages. Okay, there we go. So now here we're going to do the keep going. So now we're going to do, but since we're in a method, we can just use the while true loop, and then we'll just return when we're done. So we'll say while true. Okay, so then this method will just run until we let the user exit. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to print out the list of cars. Okay, so for this we're going to use a for each. No, we can't do for each because it's parallel, so we need to know which element we're working with. So we're going to do a for loop. For int I equals 0, I less than makes.length, I plus plus. We're just going to do a little printout that shows what is in the we'll do a header, what's on the CarLot. So here's a header, system.out.println, new line. We'll say cars on the lot. And we'll just do like a little divider line. Won't get too fancy here. Okay, and then our for loop, we're going to say for each car, we're going to do system.out.printf because we're going to do a little interpolation on those strings. And so first one will be, we'll do the make of the car has this many miles. Okay, so that's a string. And then there'll be a new line after that. And then the replacement values will be makes at I and mileages at I. Okay. Oh, I misspelled print line here. Okay, so that will print out a little list, okay, of what's in the car lot. And then we'll ask the user, we'll say system.out.println. We'll just ask what makes do you want to summarize? Okay. What make do you want to summarize? Okay, let's put a new line there just to spread it out a little bit. Then we'll get a prompt. We'll get an input string make. Let's see, string make to summarize. equals scanner.next line. So they're just going to enter Ford, Mazda, whatever here. Okay. So now we're going to do a for loop. Okay. Oops, we didn't send the scanner. We need a scanner here. Notice how SC is being highlighted under as red. It's because I made a mistake when I declared this. I forgot to send the scanner as a parameter. So I need to do that. So I'm going to come back up here. I'm just going to add the scanner as a parameter to my method. And then I need to add it when I call it here. Okay, no problem. Misspelled scanner. Okay, so now we know which one we're going to summarize. So now what I want to do is I'm going to calculate I'm going to count the number of cars I found that match that make, and then the total and the average mileages. So I need to create some variables here. Let's see, int found. We'll set it at 0 because we haven't found it yet. Int total mileage equals 0. Okay. Then we're going to do a for loop here. We're going to do another for loop, and I equals 0. Let's see, I've made a big mistake here somewhere. Let's place constructs. I think I just haven't. Yeah, so it's just getting messed up because of the for loop. Okay, so that a lot of red threw me off there. Int I equals 0. So it's highlighting everything, but it's just because I'm in the middle of typing. So I less than makes dot length. This is the same for loop we wrote above. So now we're testing. So now if the make matches, if the make in this element matches the one that we're searching for, then we want to do something with it. If it doesn't, then we just ignore it. So if makes at I dot equals, let's do ignored case, equals ignored case. Now keep in mind that makes that variable is an array of string, but makes at I is a string. So we can't do an equals ignored case on makes because it's not a string. It's an array of string, but each element in there is a string. So we get all the built-in methods that go along with it. So if the makes at I equals ignored case makes make to summarize, then it's one we want to count. So we're going to say found plus plus. We found one, and then we're going to want to say total mileage plus equals mileages at I. Okay, and then after the for loop, we'll print out our summary. System.out.printf, and we'll say we found that many cars of make. We'll put the make in. Okay, and we'll do a new line. Then we'll summarize so the count, the replacement will be the found, and then the make to summarize. So we'll say we found 5 cars of make Mazda, right? And then we'll do another printf. And this will be total mileage is, and that'll be %d. Okay, and we'll do % in there, and then we'll just replace that with get total. We'll just say get sum. Will be the mileages. No, there'll be the get sum. It'll be the total mileage. Okay, because we already counted it. Okay, so then the total mileage is %d, and then we'll say the average mileage is also %d, and we'll just round that. Okay, and then here we'll say in our replacement, it'll be total mileage divided by found. Okay. All right, so that should work. So let's see if that works. I think we got it. How many cars do you have? I have 5 cars. I have a Ford with 12,300 miles. I've got another Ford with 45,700 miles. I've got a Mazda with 3,500 miles. I've got a Subaru with 23,456, and I've got another Ford with 90,123 miles. Okay. All right, so here's our car lot. Ford, Mazda, Subaru. Which make do you want to summarize? So let's say summarize the Ford. Okay, and it says we found three cars that make Ford. The total mileage is 148. The average is 49.73. Okay, that seems to match. Okay, so let's see. Summarize the Toyotas. Oh, got an exception. Divide by zero. That's because there are no Toyotas. So it says we found zero cars that make Toyota. Okay. And then it tried to divide by zero. So it tried to do this, divide by zero. Okay. So that's messing me up. So I need to do some protection again in my program there. Okay. So let's put a blank line in there. Okay, and so what I need to do is instead of doing the calculation in line here, what I can do is I'll just create a new variable. And average equals actually I need an if statement. If found greater than zero, so we'll say int average equals zero. If found is greater than zero, then I know I can divide. So then I'll say total mileage. Then we'll say average equals total mileage divided by found. So if found is zero, then we'll add the average will just be zero. So, and then here in our printf, we'll just replace that with average. Okay. All right, let's run it again. See if that works. How many cars do you have? Let's do 6 cars. Ford, 12,300. Ford, 90,123. Mazda, 45,600. Subaru, 3,500. What's the make of the car? Ford, 125,000 miles. What's the make of the car? Let's do a Kia, and it's got 87,000 miles on it. Okay. All right. So here's our car lot. Now we want to which one do we want to summarize? So we'll put in something in our code. We'll go through the parallel arrays and match what we found. So let's summarize the Ford. Okay. We found 3 cars that make Ford. The total mileage is 227,423. The average mileage is 75,807. We probably should have put in some. We probably should have put in some the thousand separator in here, but I didn't do that. But we could. Let's see if we summarize Toyota. There shouldn't be any. We found 0 cars. Okay, so that worked. So that's where we got the error before. So now let's do a Kia. Let's make sure that we're case insensitive. Found 1 car to make Kia. Okay. All right. So that works. Okay. What makes you want to summarize? Well, I forgot to put in the question if you want to exit. So let's do that, and then I think we're going to be done. So I'm also going to put in the let's put in the 1,000 separator. Let's see. Ford has, so this would be comma point comma was because I don't want any decimals. I just want the comma, and then we'll put in the comma here. The mileage is comma. The average is comma. So then I will get 1,000 separators in our thing. So then we have system.out, and then we'll say system.out.print line. Do you want to summarize? Yeah. Actually, why don't we do a sentinel value? Instead of asking them, right here when we say, what make you want to summarize? Let's just say, we'll say quit. They can say quit the end. Okay. That way they can just enter quit. Okay. So now if they enter quit here, then what we'll do is we'll just put a quick line in here that says if make to summarize that equals ignore case quit, then we'll just return and we're done. So that will just end the code. So we don't actually we won't ask them yes or no. Do you want to continue? We'll just do a sentinel value because that makes it easy. Okay, let's run that again. How many cars do you have? 6 cars. Let's just enter the same ones. Ford, 12,300, Ford, 90,123. I forgot, I can't see those anymore. Kia, 156, 231 miles. Mazda, 76,023. Honda, 98,756. Last one was another Ford, 256,000 miles on it. Okay, so there's our 1,000 separator. That's pretty good. What makes you want to summarize or quit to end? So let's do the Ford. Okay, we found 3 cars that make Ford. The total is 358. That looks pretty good. Let's see if we do BMW. We didn't have any BMWs. Found 0. And if we enter just quit here, case insensitive, then our program's over. Okay. All right. So we'll post this code in the Canvas module so you can look at it. But this was an example of how to use, how to create parallel arrays to store a slightly more complex data structure. In this case, it's a car with mileage. And so then we were able to use some for loops and some outputs to look at the contents of our arrays and then manipulate a little bit by searching through it for things that match. Okay, I hope that was helpful. This example will be posted in the Canvas module.